Hi everyone, Kate here for the second installment in my Frank Capra project, and today I'm going to be talking about Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. In case you are new to my channel or just hadn't heard me talk about it, I am planning on watching through as many of Frank Capra's films as I can get my hands on, and I thought it would be fun to document my thoughts on each one after I have watched it. To look back on, and I think there are a fair number of Frank Capra fans out there who also watch my channel, and it would just be a fun thing to discuss with other fans. I really enjoyed this film. It came out in 1939. It's one of Frank Capra's earlier films, and I wasn't that surprised that I enjoyed it because it's Jimmy Stewart and Jean Arthur, and they are a couple that I had seen paired together in another Frank Capra film, You Can't Take It With You. I will do a video dedicated to You Can't Take It With You once I've rewatched it and it's more fresh in my mind. But I just find Jean Arthur to be such a winsome and compelling lead, and she has such a great voice. Something about her voice is just really, I just love it. And then Jimmy Stewart, I mean, come on. He's just so well loved. He's an American treasure, and he's just so classic. One thing that I think is funny is I heard Johnny Carson said before when Jimmy Stewart was a guest on his show that you're someone I know who sounds like you're imitating yourself sometimes. Like he sometimes sounds like a caricature of himself with his voice. It was really neat to see him doing this role, being so young, but I realized I should jump back and talk about the plot of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And it starts out with the death of a senator in this small town, and there needs to be somebody new appointed to be a senator. So there's all this talk about who will get in to be the new senator, especially because there are certain people in power that have a lot of say, have a lot of pull over who will get put in and who will get elected. And there's debating back and forth over who will get the position. And then sort of this no-name, who's played by Jimmy Stewart, who is Mr. Smith, but his full name is Jefferson Smith, and he gets elected. The governor decides he wants to elect him. He's this no-name, and it becomes clear very shortly into the film that they have picked him for a reason, and that is because he's naive, he's young, he's green, and they can push him around and just get him to kind of do exactly what they want him to do. So this really does address corruption in politics, which let's, not any of us fool ourselves. There is corruption in many political parties. It's not just, I kind of hear when I see more right-wing articles and when I see more left-wing articles, it likes to point out the corruption in the other side. But let us not fool ourselves. There is corruption in so much in politics, unfortunately. It's really a shame. It's such a shame. Film is so good at portraying kind of this man who comes to Washington. He has all of these ideals. He is so well loved by his community. They send him off in style, and there's a group of boys, a boys group, sort of like Boy Scouts, that he has been working with and is just so loved by so many in the community, and his mother included. She's so proud of her son that he's going off to Washington, and he goes there, and very soon after he tries to pass this bill to start a boys' summer camp and have it built on this certain piece of land, the man that is also the elected senator from the state that he is from makes it clear, like, look, there's this man I know, he's got a lot of money and I'm kind of in his pocket, and you just need to kind of go with the flow. You need to not make this bill pass because we want to do other things with that land. And of course he says this all off the record. He's not going to own up to it. And then this whole smear campaign happens once he says, well, no. Once Mr. Smith, the Jimmy Stewart character, says, no, I'm not going along with that. I have principles. I have these ethical standards that I have, and I'm standing up for them. I am not going to let time and age corrupt me and make me more jaded and make me apathetic. And he sees a lot of that in this colleague that he's working with, which is really, really sad. And the colleague says, when I came when I was young, I was like you. I had these ideals, and then I just realized how the real world is. And things will just go better for you if you just go along like this. And he's right that things would go better for him if he just went along with it, because then they begin this smear campaign. And then a lot of the movie, which I was not expecting, is Jefferson Smith, the senator, having a filibuster moment, because he's been told that he is going to be kicked out of his position. And as soon as they have adjourned their meeting of the Senate, he will be done. And so he says, I am having none of this. I am going to keep talking until people decide that I am not going to be voted out, until people decide they're going to believe me and they're not going to accept the false accusations that have been put out there about me. And it's really extraordinary to watch Jimmy Stewart portray Jefferson Smith, this young man with high ideals, and then portraying him doing this filibuster moment in Senate, and he will not stop talking. At the end of it, I think he's been talking for over 24 hours, and you can tell from his voice and everything with his physiology makes it very apparent just how long he's been talking. And it was just an amazing, amazing performance. So Jean Arthur plays Saunders, who is the secretary. And they instantly have this kind of chemistry, but she thinks he's interested in someone else. And so then she's kind of thinking she just wants to leave town and get out of there. And I really enjoyed their relationship in it. They just have really great chemistry together. So I really enjoyed this one. It's now right up there with the other ones, the other Frank Capra films that I've seen. If you have seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, let me know your thoughts on it. I was just really enthusiastic about it after watching it. And I will be back for another video soon. Bye.